And today's topic, like I said, it's going to be about future. It's on the topic of AI and Industrial Revolution 4.0. And this topic is brought to you by none other than Dr. Lau himself, Dr. Lau from APU, Asia Pacific University. So students, if you have any questions that you want to know about, because this topic is rather deep. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask Doctor. We'll kind of create a discussion. We kind of keep it conversational. So Doctor, are you ready to take it away, sir?
Yes.
All right. So again, student, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Yeah, Doctor, take it away.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to listen to me for a few words over here. Okay, so my topic today is the life with AI and Industry Revolution 4.0. Okay, so I believe the moment when you are looking at the screen, at the picture in the screen right now, so therefore you know that the things that I'm going to talk is about the engineering. Okay, so engineering. So I understand that. So the students right now, I mean all of you, maybe you still haven't decided, okay, so what is the pathway that I'm going to choose? What is the job, the future career that I would like to take on, okay? So therefore, I am here to just to introduce one branch of out of so many career paths. I'm going to introduce one branch of it, which about engineering, okay? So therefore, maybe the most direct question is, what is engineering? Why is it so special? What is the difference between engineering and others, okay? So talking about engineering, right? So there are few things that you need to know. First, the engineering is actually related to the basic human facilities and necessities, okay? Basic human facilities and necessities. For example, in Malaysia, right? If you look at the Board of Engineer Malaysia, there are actually four branch of engineering that are in Malaysia we are regulating. They are electrical, they are civil, and mechanical and chemical. They are four. So therefore you see, anything that you do with your life, like even the clothes that you wear, so it must be related to either one branch of the engineering, okay? So engineering is actually like the basic human needs. It fulfills what actually we want, okay? So this is engineering. So this is the first features. And the second features about engineering is like, they are actually a problem solver, okay? So therefore, if you want me to use a different word to express engineering, I would say it is a problem shooter, okay? So you need to troubleshoot, okay? You need to solve for problems, okay? So therefore, meaning that whenever there is a new demand, for example, like from the customers, so therefore we have a new demand on anything, so therefore you need to come up with a solution. So that is what our job is, that is about engineering, okay? And also the beauty about engineers, is everything is justified and verifiable, okay? So what do I mean by justifiable? So justifiable, which is, if you think about engineering, what is the direct subject that you can think about in your high school? Maybe you think about physics, mathematics, things like that, right? So physics, mathematics, things like that, what is the characteristic? There is always a definite answer, okay? For example, you calculate, okay, what is the force during the bending moment around the aircraft, something like that. So therefore, everything can be calculated. You are going to get a definite answer. So that is the beauty of engineering. We always have a standard to refer. So that is the reason you go out, for example, you're driving out, you are seeing that the size of the route is always similar. The color of the signboard is always the same. Everything is being well organized is because it's done by the engineering and we are regulated by the standards. Everything has a standard, everything has an answer. So therefore, if this is what you want, if you think yourself is an analytical kind of person, engineering definitely is one thing that you would like to try, okay? So what is the contrary about that? Contrary maybe if you are taking, let's say, business analyst. If you listen to the name of the job scope, right, we call them business analysts, right? We don't call business engineers. So what is the reason? It's because, you know, the business analysts, what do? It's like analysis and also forecast. They give you a direction, they give you a rough idea, they give you a concept, but they will never give you the exact answer. So how many sales I'm going to make in this year? Actually, no one can say this, right? So therefore, this is actually a clear cut between engineering and non-engineering. Engineering always have a standard, always have an answer, and always can be calculated, okay? And relating back to the title I'm going to talk about, which is a life with AI and IR 4.0, okay? So what is the reason I'm choosing this title? The reason is very simple, because we are already living with it, okay? We are right now living with it, okay? So maybe you are not aware, but we are living with it. Oh, so therefore, let me show you. Yeah. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you, okay, so what is artificial intelligence? I'm not too sure how this word has the impact, what kind of impact this AI is having to you, okay? So I want to recall, during 10 years ago when I started doing my PhD, right? So I was doing the artificial human speech, and I need to use AI in order to train my classifiers, okay? So AI 10 years ago is something very big. And also, it is something like we are using a lot of, you will listen to a lot of words that you never heard before. For example, neural network is very simple, maybe the swarm particle analysis, maybe the k nearest neighbors, maybe but perturb and observe iteration. There are a lot of algorithm names. So that is very professional and that is very hard to understand. Your mind will stuck, okay? So, but talking about AI right now, right? Right now, even though you go to, for example, if you're buying a new Huawei phone, right? They are saying that, yeah, our camera is AI engineered, okay, AI. So therefore, what is actually AI? So AI, in my perspective, it only gives you two different categories. I mean, as long as you are fulfilling these two categories, we can consider that system is an AI system. The first is, it should be able to make the decision by itself, making decision by itself. Okay, so for example, like let's say the Huawei camera, AI camera. So when during sunlight or during when the lighting is not that bright, it will auto adjust the aperture, right? It will auto adjust the contrast. So therefore, this is able to make the decision by itself. So therefore, maybe you are saying that, yeah, there are a lot of other cameras are able to do that as well, right? Yes, this is actually one of the features, able to make decision by itself. This is the number one features of AI, okay? So of course, Huawei is making this like a, how to say, it's like a something to promote the phone, okay? But don't worry, actually every phone that you're holding, we all already having these AI features, right? So that is the reason I'm saying that we are living with it already. We are already living with it. Okay, so what is the second features about the AI? The second features about the AI, which is, it is, you only need to do it once. Once you install, you can just leave it. You can just leave it running by itself, okay? You don't have to care about that anymore. So what is the things that you may be using in your house? For example, like the alarm system. Alarm system is something, try to break into your house and then the alarm is turning on. So therefore you see all this is being done automatically, right? So therefore, what you need to do is just to switch on the system, okay? You can just install and then just leave it. And it is able to make the decision by itself. So therefore, this is actually the definition of AI, okay? So as long as you're fulfilling these two criteria, you can say that you are actually making an AI system. So even though the pass-fail logic, for example, like traffic light. So after the traffic light, so one side becoming red, so therefore another side becoming green. So therefore, this is also a kind of AI system, but it is just maybe a simpler AI, but it is still an AI, okay? So we are living with this AI system and also taking broader perspective, which is like the future industry. The future industry, and you may have heard a lot of things about industrial revolution, right? So what is actually industrial revolution? And this is already the fourth time, okay? The fourth time. So meaning that we have IR1, IR2, IR3, and now it's IR4, okay? So revolution, what I want you to take notes on this is the revolution, the word revolution, okay? So if you study any history, for example, you are maybe in France, there is a revolution, Renaissance, so therefore something has changed over there. So therefore there is a revolution, we call it revolution. So therefore the revolution here actually meaning that this is a change and this is a total change. So after this revolution, you are going to have a new life. You are going to have a new way of living your life, okay? You cannot go back to the previous, before the revolution. You are going to enter to a new era, okay? So therefore, the word revolution is like a boundary. Before the revolution, you're living like how you used to live. After the revolution, you're entering a new era. So therefore, you may need to lead to a new style of living, okay? So this is happening in industry right now, okay? So what are the others revolutions? So back to the first one, we have the steam-based machine. You have to imagine like people are still using stone as their tools. So therefore we started to have steam-based. So therefore now further we have electrical energy-based mass production, and further we have the computer and internet-based knowledge. Things are like that. You see there's only progressing, okay? So right now, if I ask you, okay, we go back to industry 2. So do you want it? Of course you don't want it, right? So therefore, this is the agreement. This is the consensus. Once we experiencing this revolution, we have to live with it, okay? So therefore, this is another reason, right? Why am I choosing the life with AI and IR 4.0? We are now living with it. We can't escape, okay? So therefore, now, talking about IR 4.0, how does it change? What is actually being changed? Okay, so this is just a simple mock-up about the factory processes. For example, if you talk about the manufacturing process, so therefore you see in this picture, how many human do you see? You are not seeing so many human, right? You see the one yeah, thank you so much. And the one on the right, you are seeing that there's only one human, and this it is not physically there. Okay, it is just using a laptop to connect to there. Okay, so therefore this is actually why we don't need human anymore. I know it sounds scary, yeah, but actually we still need human. But in this situation, why we don't need human anymore? The reason is because we have applied AI into it. Okay. So for example, a lot of decision making, you do not need human anymore in order to help you to do the decision. Like the manufacturing process, the first step already done. So therefore it knows that it has to go to the second stage. It knows that it has to perform the further procedure. So all of these are automated. And all this decision making is replaced by the computer. We don't need human to be there in order to switch it on, switch it off again. So therefore that is the reason, okay? So therefore now, no matter you like it or not, there are a lot of company in Malaysia is already adopting this, okay? So talking about like the bigger one, like for example, Top Glove. Top Glove, you imagine how many gloves they need to produce in a day, okay? So if you really depend on human, right, it's never not enough. Never not enough. So therefore, no matter you like it or not, we are moving into this trend. We are involving a lot of robots. We are involving a lot of AI. So therefore, this is the life of Industrial Revolution 4.0. This is happening, okay? So the element of Industrial Revolution 4.0, IR 4.0, I just try to dilute this concept into something simpler that everyone can easily understand, okay? So therefore, there are actually 16 that I like to talk about here, the element of IR 4.0. If you want to claim that, okay, you have adopted IR 4.0, so the first thing is like the cyber physical system, okay? So therefore, the one in the picture you see is the old bike, right? So if you know what is the old bike, which is something that you can just use the, the QR scanner in order to scan and unlock, and then you can rent. You can rent this old bike for like 1 hour or 2 hours, something like that, okay? So therefore, you see, for the entire process, how many human do you see? You're only seeing yourself, right? The boss of the old bike will not be coming to here and take your money. Okay, you can use this bike for 2 hours. They won't be doing this, right? So therefore, this is the first process. They are digitalized everything, and they are taking, they are deploying it to the automation, okay? So the customer automatically rent their bike in order to use it and pay you automatically, okay? Something like that, okay? So therefore, this is, for example, if we do not have Industrial 4.0, let's say we are still in the Steam, the first IR 1.0, and you want to rent a bike. Are you able to do this? We are not able to do this, okay? So this is the beauty of what, because you are born in this era, right? So therefore, this is a beauty, what is happening right now. You can enjoy something like this, okay? And also the second...
I think the most obvious one is toll and parking system. Maybe student may be able to relate when you see your parents drive you to a mall. You don't pay a person anymore. You pay a machine.
Yeah. So therefore, actually, a lot of new intervention can be there. So therefore, some country even tested using drone in order to check, is there any illegal parking and all that. The drone is come with the Wi-Fi. So therefore, it can immediately issue the ticket, I mean the saman, immediately issue the summon in email to you. They don't even need to touch your car. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very simple. Okay.
The latest
And
one
also
that we have
talk.
seen is Mid Valley. You go your car in, and then the camera will capture your car plate, and then you can proceed from there.
Yes, so therefore, meaning that you don't need to go to the counter and pay for the parking ticket anymore, right? So everything is becoming automated, lah. Okay.
Mm.
And also, the next thing is about this, the sensor and actuator. Okay, sensor and actuator. So therefore, meaning that what you need to have if you are starting a business like this, which is like you must have a sensor, right? For example, like just now the old bike, how does the bike, I mean, how does the owner know that, okay, somebody is going to rent my bike? You know, the sensors is actually with our phone as well. The moment you scan the QR, now the process is being triggered. Okay, so therefore the sensor and actuator, so meaning that it will be unlocking the bike for you, right? So once the QR code is successfully being scanned, the lock will be unlocked. So the scanner is the sensor and the actuator is the lock. Okay, so therefore I am using some example. Actually, this can be related to many others in many different sectors as well. So therefore, yeah, this is one of the things. And also the third attribute of the IR 4.0 is about the Internet of Things. Okay, so Internet of Things. So if you know right now, IoT is already something we are going to phase out. Okay, the word is going to phase out. So what will it be replaced? We will replace with IoE, Internet of Everything. Okay, everything. For example, in the world, for example, you talk if you go and how to say, maybe not too sure about the students lah. For example, like me, right? I go to see any new houses development and people saying that we have a smart home system, smart home. So therefore, even though like you know your window blind can be connected online as well, right? So therefore, it's like 10 years ago. Can you ever imagine 10 years ago? Yeah, we are going to connect our window blind to internet. So therefore, 10 years ago, maybe people will laugh at you, what for? But right now, you see, everything is being put into internet. We have a cloud system, okay? So yeah, this is that. And also the number 4 attribute is about the smart technology. So therefore, the smart is actually as what I said just now. And this is actually what it tries to emphasize is about the plug and leave it. For example, like you install the system and you can leave it. And it can auto feedback, it can auto generate the income, and it can auto process the procedure. It can do everything automatically, okay? So for example, taking the solar energy, okay? You just need to put the solar panel on the rooftop, right? You don't have to care about it anymore. Then you just wait for the energy to flow in. This is also a feature, quite important, and people are looking for this, okay? And number 5 is about the big data, okay? So just now, actually everything is being interrelated. The coherency is among them. So what is big data? Big data is like, usually is the data that you don't care, okay? You know, for example, like people saying that, you know, when people articulate the strength is stronger, something like that. So when you think, for example, like the useless data, for example, for today, I'm not too sure if all of you know that if you are using Google service, right, there is a timeline function, you know, the Google Map, there's a timeline function. Without you knowing, actually it recorded where have you been. For example, yesterday you have been to Mid Valley, let's say somewhere like that. So therefore, you see, all this, maybe you feel that it's okay, I don't mind. For example, yeah, you want my data, you want to know yesterday I go to Mid Valley, you just take it lah, it's okay. So therefore, maybe you think this is useless. But when all this kind of information gathers around, for example, it can get, for example, okay, 10 million people, where do they go yesterday? So they can draw a pattern, okay? They can draw a pattern. They know that, okay, maybe today is Tuesday, maybe Monday, okay, maybe Monday people going to Mid Valley because maybe there's an event over there, something like that. So people can draw a trend, can draw something from your action, and they can actually make use of it. They can actually make income from here, okay? But what is the constituent? What is a constituent? Is actually the everyday useless data that you think that is useless, okay? So therefore, the big data is actually something important as well that needs to be used to analyze the pattern. And also, this is also part of the Industry Revolution 4.0 as well, okay? And also the last but not least, once we have the big data, right, we need to process it, right? So we need to process it. Of course, maybe you have a market analyst, maybe they can manually look at the data and tell us what is happening. But how long, how to say, I mean, what is the ability of a human can do in order to analyze something? So therefore, we need artificial intelligence, okay? So therefore, the artificial intelligence, so previously, there is a lot of people, for example, they watch some movies, right? There are some scary statements saying that, yeah, one day the AI is going to overcome, it's going to kill all the human. We are going to be ruled by the AI, okay? So I am not too sure how do you feel about that, okay? Maybe now you have the answer in your mind. I'm not too sure, do you really think will this happen or will this not happen? I will have my point of view to you later, but right now you can think about that first. So the artificial intelligence, as I mentioned in the beginning, which is like it helping you to make decision. Okay, for example, like I know that okay, there's a lot of people going to Mid Valley on a Monday. So therefore, meaning that if I want to have a new product launching, I should put it on Monday. Okay, so therefore everything will be justifiable. Like what I mentioned about the engineering just now, everything is justifiable. You can get a definite decision and conclusion out of everything you do, okay? So therefore, Industrial Revolution 4.0, what I want you to understand is, it is not only happening in the big factories, it is not only happening in the manufacturing line, it is happening everywhere, anywhere. So therefore, that is the reason my title, once again, is the Life with AI and Industrial Revolution 4.0, okay? Okay, so therefore, everyone know what is this, right? I just want to showcase one real example that I witnessed in Singapore, okay? So this is mixed rice, okay? You know, we call it mixed rice right now, right? For example, maybe 5 years ago, we called it economical rice, right? Right now, we call it mixed rice because this is no longer economical right now, okay? So therefore, yeah, you see, what is the example that I see from the Singapore that time? You see, IR 4.0 mixed rice version, okay? So this is not a joke, this is really something impressive. So I remember that moment I visited Singapore last time and I saw this system happening, which is like when I go in, I see there's a lot of camera on top of all the dishes, okay? There's a lot of camera on top of all the dishes, okay? So what does it do, okay? They are using the camera vision in order to keeping track of the selling speed of the dishes. For example, okay, I see that, okay, the chicken, the replacement of the chicken is faster than the fish, something like that. How do they notice that? They are using camera vision, okay? So therefore, you see, if you don't use camera vision, for example, you're using your human brain, you ask your worker to help you keep track, how accurate will it be? And also how tedious will it be? So therefore, the camera vision is actually helping us to do that. And also, you see, how fast a dish is being selling out. Maybe this is the kind of, maybe 20 years ago, the boss never cared about this, okay? Or if this is finished, then I replace it, something like that. Maybe this is what in their mind. But with this, with a lot of data every day, so we can draw a big data patterns, right? So therefore, from here, we can actually using the big data to analyze the earning and also the wastage. So what can we do? We can adjust the cost, right? So once we know that maybe the chicken is selling faster, so we order more chicken. Maybe the fish is, so a lot of things you can actually get conclusion out of it, okay? So they are actually not useless data. They are, how to say, as long as if you know how to analyze that, they can turn into a lot of income to you, okay? And also, you can also further adding more parameters in your training, your AI training. So the AI training can include the cost of the raw material, right? Even though selling fast, for example, chicken selling fast, but chicken is also expensive. Actually, I don't know the price, I just simply say it. Right? So if it is expensive and it's selling fast, but if you're constantly doing that, it might not lead to the income, okay? It might not maximize the income, okay? So therefore, that is the reason you need to include the cost. You need to use the AI to help you. Maybe once in a while, you don't want to sell the chicken that fast. Maybe you want to emphasize on the fish. Maybe your profit margin is even higher, okay? And also the seasonal information, all this information is actually also being useful to provide forecast, okay? To provide forecast. So for example, 20 years ago, so when you tell the, you know, the mixed rice seller, okay, do you want to forecast your, the selling of your dishes? They'll just tell you, huh, are you crazy? So because 20 years ago, this is not a thing, okay? So right now, this is possible, okay? So we can really forecast, for example, like, because some raw material has a season, right? For example, like, I'm not too sure, maybe like September to October, maybe this is a season for a certain fish. So the price of this dish is cheaper. So the meaning that you can actually incorporate this one into your entire, your restaurant, okay? You can actually add this information to become like a classifiers. And maybe up to one day, you do not need to think about, okay, what are the dishes I need to prepare today? You can just ask the classifier. The classifier tell you, okay, today is a Monday. You need to prepare blah, 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 blah. So then we're just doing it accordingly, just like that, okay? So this is also, before the IR 4.0, this is all not possible. Only when the IR 4.0, this is possible. You know how impressive this is because, you know, when I got to know about this, I was actually talking to the boss. I did not visit the restaurant. I talking to the boss showed me using their phone. We are actually at somewhere very far. Yeah, we're actually at somewhere very far from the shop. So therefore you see how impressive is this. So no matter you like it or not, we are already living with that. And also you don't think this is something very big. You don't think this is something you will never learn, you will never touch. This is actually closer and closer to our life already, okay? So therefore, this is one of the example. So about the IR 4.0, right? So just now I asked a question, right? Do you think one day the human will all be replaced by IR? So therefore, now I actually have my opinion to you later, but let me tell you, what is the beauty of IR 4.0? What IR 4.0 can offer? The first is accuracy, right? For example, like the manufacturing, you want to solder this small chip. You know, now the chip is this small. So therefore you want to solder. If you think you want to use your, how to say, manual soldering. So therefore, yeah, so how easy it is or how hard it is. So therefore you see, this is something that maybe we better rely on the machine. We don't try to be a hero. So therefore, this is something that the IR 4.0 can offer, accuracy. They are producing like, for example, 2 million chips a day. So 2 million chips. So how many people you need if you want to do it manually?
If you
And
use human,
also,
you need to
right,
train them some more.
yeah. So therefore, and also you need to know that right now people are talking about nano chips. Nano chips. What is nano chip? Nanotechnology. Nanotechnology, the nano chips, which is, you know how small is nano. So nano is actually 100 times smaller than a human cell. Smaller than human cell 100 times. And then you need to solder. You try to solder this one in a nano size. How can you do that? Human cannot do that, right? So therefore, yeah, this is the first thing, accuracy. And also secondly, IR 4.0, long hours, okay? So talking about the top glove just now, so I remember one time because we want to do some collaboration project with Top Glove, okay? So last time during the visit, we visiting Top Glove last time, and we say that, okay, we are going to do some modification to one of the production line, okay? So therefore, in order to do that, right, so we suggest, can you stop for a while? We want to check something. You know, the boss immediately say cannot. You know, when they stop for 1 second, right, how many losses? But they're still earning a lot. Okay, so therefore, this is the thing. The IR 4.0 can work long hour. How about you? Okay, so for example, you're attending classes for 3 hours, you already want, yeah, it's okay. So this is something IR 4.0 can offer, but human cannot. And also consistency, okay? So consistency is important. For example, like you see some prestigious company, for example, like Apple, you go and look at their phone. You just, how to say, actually, this is something we should be appreciating about, which is like the workmanship because they are employing the machines and also IR 4.0 and all the system. So actually you will see that the product is actually having a very good consistency. It is very less likely that you are getting a defect product, okay?
Yeah.
And also this consistency is easily to be maintained by machine, yes, by computer, yes, but by human, how? Can you, for example, like you draw a circle, how many exact circle you can draw with your hand, right? We human cannot do this. So therefore, you see, the beauty of IR 4.0, which is like, we don't have to worry about this. All the product we build is going to be accurate, it's going to work 24/7, and they're going to be consistent, okay? So this is very much needed right now. And also, now I am going to tell you what IR 4.0 cannot offer, okay? Okay, so here, actually, I want to reveal my answer, which is, I don't think AI is going to take over human, okay? I don't think, okay? So what is the reason, okay? So the first thing, creativity, okay? Creativity. So therefore, this is something human has it. Do you think you have any AI which can offer creativity? So therefore, for example, you imagine, is there any song written by AI? Have you heard of any song written by AI? Or have you
No.
seen any painting being created by AI? Okay, so therefore, this is actually a flaw. It's not like a flaw, like it's like a characteristic of AI. AI only able to access to the historical data. They are not able to give you something new. But we human different. Human, we can give you something new because we keep thinking that people are
You can
creative.
imagine.
So therefore, yes. So therefore, you see, that is actually something that I feel that AI cannot take over human unless one day the AI has a creativity, which I think it is super less likely. So maybe you are thinking that AI is able to make some combination. Maybe they learn a lot of things using the historical data, and also they mix and match in order to come up with something new. But that is still traceable, right? You can see that is actually based on some previous historical data. So therefore, the creativity, I don't think AI is going to outwin human. Okay. And talking about the innovation, okay. So innovation, creativity and innovation, even though you know in Mandarin, right, these two words in Mandarin also sounds very familiar, sounds very similar. So what is the difference between creativity and innovation? Okay, so creativity is you are creating something from zero. Okay, you're creating something from nothing to something. Okay, what is the example? For example, like the robot vacuum. You know the robot vacuum, right? It's something like a frisbee, and then it will
Yeah.
go around your house to clean your house, the
Roomba.
robot vacuum. Yeah, yeah, something like that. So therefore, you see, 20 years ago, we do not have robot vacuum, right? So therefore, the moment when we created from nothing to the robot vacuum, this is based on your creativity. Okay. So what about innovation? Innovation is like, the maybe 10 years ago, the robot vacuum is able to just to vacuum the floor. But right now, today, if you go to like the Mi store or you go to somewhere else, you can find a lot of good functions. The robot vacuum right now can sweep the floor, can also
And
mop the floor, and yeah, and also if they run out of battery, right, it know how to go way back to charge itself. For example, 10 years ago, the robot vacuum, can it do that? The 10 years ago cannot. So therefore, how does it relate to the innovation? Innovation is like a new idea that you build on the existing product, okay? And this innovation can only happen in human brain, okay? So why am I saying that, okay? So you see, now the robot vacuum, the same old robot vacuum, the robot vacuum 10 years ago that you bought, if you put it there like 5 years, it is still the same thing, right? Will the robot vacuum, how to say, learn something by itself in order to become a better version of it? It is impossible. The robot, it cannot be doing that, okay? The innovation is from the human. The robot vacuum now is become so intelligent is because of the human now recreating, repurposing, and also refurnishing the current robot vacuum to give it more intelligent features. Okay, so you see where comes the innovation? The innovation comes from human. The innovation does not come from the robot vacuum itself. So therefore, this is the reason why uh, I think that AI is still AI and human is still like yeah better than that. Okay, so the third thing that why human and AI, the comparison in between, I'm not too sure if you know about this girl. This is actually a fiction character created by Japan, by Japan artists. It's not a real human, but they're creating this fiction character and also give it some song. Actually, she is a singer, a virtual singer. She is
Oh,
a
our
singer.
chat. Some of the student actually knows who she is. I don't know.
I, yeah, this is, yeah.
So you're
Okay,
telling me
so
this is
this
an
is,
artificial talent artist, is it? Celebrity.
uh, uh, this is a made up singer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a real singer, it's a virtual singer. Okay. And
Whoa.
also
Okay.
the next, I believe Mervin, you know who is this one, right?
Mariah Carey.
Yeah, thank you for knowing that. Okay. Maybe this time the student do not know who is this one. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now human, the human features. This is something only human has it. This is something AI do not have it. Okay. For example, like you can always say that, okay, using machine, using computer, we can easily doing something nicely. For example, you draw a circle using computer. Of course, you're expecting a perfect circle, right? And there's no surprise because you know computer can do that. What if I use a human hand? I just free hand draw a circle. And after that, you'll be amazed, right? Because you know how much skill and how much precision, accuracy I must have, right? So therefore, this human touch and also a lot of things, you have to understand that there are a lot of career, there are a lot of things cannot be replaced by human. As I mentioned just now for the robot vacuum, if I want a better version of robot vacuum, I need to train, I need to teach students, I need to supervise project, I need to come up with new innovation, and I need to build a new one, okay? Every process involves human, okay? And also not mentioning about all the other careers we really need human. For example, like therapists, psychotherapists. For example, you need to have an appointment with psychotherapist, right? So therefore, of course, you're expecting a real human, right? You don't want to talk to an AI, right? Because AI, what does AI know? You need a real human. So therefore, the human touch, we cannot totally discard things like that. And
We
of
cannot
course, I
replicate
believe
the
that
soul.
yes, we can replicate the soul. Yes, exactly. And also, I believe one day, if really there's an AI robot go to the stage to become our next prime minister, right? I believe all the other human will not be just sitting still. Okay, we will be doing something.
I think students will relate that. Just students have to ask themselves, what would they like their Korean pop star like BTS or Jimin to be replaced by
Yeah.
AI? I don't think they would,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. So therefore, yeah, this is the thing. People are still looking forward to have a lot of human touch. So that's why you see, even Samsung, what is the tagline of Samsung? Design for human, right? We design for human, right? We don't design for AI, right? So therefore, this is the trend, okay? This is what is happening right now, IR 4.0 and AI. So therefore, you see the future technologies. So the things that you are seeing on the screen right now, for example, additive manufacturing, system integration, autonomous robots. So all of these are actually the new area, new era that you are going to venture, okay? So for example, like the student right now, I believe he is SPN student, right? So if you want to become an engineer, you need to study 1 year foundation and 4-year degree. So after 5 years. So therefore, if this is the technology is already happening right now, right? So what can you expect 5 years later? It is going to be even more, futuristic, even though maybe really the car can fly, maybe we don't know. Okay, so therefore, you have to understand that we are experiencing this revolution, and this is something new that you need to accept. Okay, you cannot go back, you cannot compare to your uncle, like, yeah, my uncle never learned about Arduino. So therefore, you cannot compare things like that. Yeah.
I think
Yes.
back in the day when students think about engineering, I think back in your day and my day, people think about engineering. They think about building bridges, building buildings, making nice building and whatnot. But these days, engineering is completely different already. They're talking about automated cars. They're talking about flying cars. They're talking about
Yes.
automated shops with no staff involved. These kind of things. So students, your mindset have to be changed. If you listen to your uncle and auntie, their perception of engineering and perception of engineering this day is completely different.
Yes. So therefore, these are the technologies that so therefore in APU, right? Actually, the next thing I want to introduce a bit is about the engineering that we have in APU. So basically, our engineering degree are categorized into 2 different sections. The first is the electrical, and the second is the petroleum engineering. Okay, electrical and petroleum. I know it's quite a contrast, but somehow they are in the together. Okay,
Energy,
so
energy.
yes. So for the electrical, we can further, how to say, there are sub-branch, and they are called mechatronics, E&E, electrical and electronics, telecommunication, and also computer engineering. Okay. A lot of students actually they kind of mixed up. For example, software engineering, right? But in Malaysia, software engineering is not engineer, but computer engineering is engineer. Okay. Because just the name, maybe how to say, just the name they put out for software engineering. So therefore, but they are actually more to the programmer. Computer engineering is more on the hardware and software integration. So that is the reason we need
Okay.
the engineering knowledge. Yes.
One person
Okay.
codes
So
and another person deal with the
yeah.
mechanic of it, with the like the
Yes.
gears and
Yes.
the
Yes.
hardware. All
And
right,
also
understood.
we also have to accept the fact that the more that you can do, I mean, how to say, the more that you can do, the more useful that you are in the boss eyes. For example, computer engineering, they had to code as well. They had to integrate as well. They had to do everything, basically everything. Okay. So therefore, computer engineering is actually something new as well. You see, IR 4.0 is popping. So for example, 10 years ago, have you heard of computer engineering? Actually, 10 years ago, I keep mentioning about 10 years ago. Do you still remember what is a popular thing 10 years ago? Actually, 10 years ago, the popular thing is about the telecommunication because we started to have smartphone. We started to
Yeah,
care about the reception. Yes. We started to care about, we want to use our mobile phone to get online. So therefore, that
touchscreen.
time, people saying that, yes, yes, yes. So therefore, a lot of things that time. So therefore, you see, telecommunication was popular last time. Okay. And also last time, you did not hear anything about computer engineering. So therefore, we have to embrace that the time is changing. When the time is changing, we have to adapt to it. So that is the reason we have new engineering popping out. Okay. So therefore, just a very quick browse through about the engineering branches that we offer. So Mechatronic Engineering, this is actually our most popular engineering in APU, okay? We have a lot of student number in this, and this is to look at the word mechatronics, right? So meaning that it is a combination between mechanical and electronics, okay? So therefore, this is actually relating to the Industrial Revolution 3.0, okay? You remember the 3.0 is about the automation. They are using robot in order to do the manufacturing, okay? So therefore, meaning that they need the integration of the robots, the movement, something can move, the movement and with the electrical board in order to control it. So they see there's a need to combine mechanical and electronics. So therefore you see, even though right now, because Industrial 4.0 involving the automation as well, so right now the mechatronic is still popular, okay? So therefore, yeah, for example, the things that some futuristic things that you can see from the mechatronics is something like this. For example, like the first one, the dog-alike robot actually is like helping us in the, even though for the search and rescue or the SNR, search and rescue, and also help to pass parcels in order to deliver things and that, and also Tesla. You know that it is a mechatronics invention, right? So this is something big, okay, something big. uh, I say we're living with it, but I'm not driving Tesla, so I'm not live with Tesla. But we are living with this. So, for example, a lot of things, even though like just now the robot vacuum is also something mechanical because it involves movement, right? It involves movement, and you need to insert the electronic board into it. So therefore, mechatronic is very much needed. Okay, and also, uh, now the this thing I put it into the second engineering I'm talking about is because it's like this is something started to gain attentions, okay? Computer engineering. So therefore you see, robot vacuum is not enough. We need a smarter robot vacuum. So how to add the smarter into robot vacuum is by computer engineers, okay? So you can imagine this is actually a combination of the computer science and electronics engineering. But they do not name, they do not give a name like computronics. They do not give a name like that. But you need to know this computer science and also electronics. Okay. Also, this is something that you cannot, how to say, avoid. Okay. So because previously, when electronic engineer is electronic engineer and computer scientist is computer scientist, they are not overlapping each other. So therefore, actually the gapping is a problem. A lot of things that maybe electrical engineer expect that the computer scientists they can offer to us, they can do this, but actually they cannot. Okay, so therefore the bridging is actually important, and that is what the computer engineering is doing. Okay, so yeah, we have like resolving problem to address any concern occur with the hardware or software, and also the main thing about computer engineering is to add the intelligence. Okay, to add the intelligence. So meaning that the system might be there. For example, like wardrobe. I want a smarter wardrobe. I don't look for mechatronic, right? I look for computer engineers, okay? So something like that. And also this one is the long lasting, okay, the super long lasting. Do you know the first electrical and electronic engineer, when is the, how to say, formally acknowledged there is a first E&E engineer? That is actually back in 1920s.
When the first light bulb
1920.
is invented?
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, there's a profession called E&E engineer. Yeah, 1920, 1920. So therefore, you see, because when I talk about Industrial Revolution 4.0, things like that, because we keep introducing something new, right? So people might worry about, if we are introducing something new, is it something old is going to fade away? For example, electrical and electronic engineering is old enough, right? But I had to assure you that this is not considered old, this is considered basic, this is considered the foundation, okay? So of course, meaning that you see electrical and electronic engineering, this not only about the smart system. For example, we started to use electric, which is back to Industrial Revolution 2.0, IR 2.0. We started using electricity. We already have E&E engineers since then. Okay, so therefore, as long as you're using electricity, for example, you're training AI, you also need to use electricity, right? So therefore, you can't avoid to hire E&E engineer to your company one day. Okay, so and also I want to clear the concern about, okay, we introducing something new, there's a new era, so therefore is it there's something old you're going to face off? So you see, this E&E engineering started from 1920 and even for now, almost 100 years. So therefore, I don't think this is going to be, how to say, I don't think this is going to be totally wiped off one day. Yeah, yes. So E&E engineering, so what do they do? You can imagine it's like you are dealing with the big electricities and small electricities. So what is big electricities? Big electricities is about the power supply. For example, TNB. TNB is supplying power to all the residential and factories, right? So these are considered as the big electricities. You need to transfer, you need to transmission, you need to generate, you need to transmit, and you need to distribute. So all this required a stable system in order to distribute the electricity to all of us, right? So meaning that the engineers has to make sure the system is being well placed, okay? So for example, next time, okay, we have, for example, if you notice that right now the TNB, the meter, previously is the old analog meters, right? Now we are using a smart digital meters, okay? So therefore, this is, you see, the involvement, I mean the improvement. And also you had to make sure that during the transition, none of our activities are being disrupted. You can't say that I want to install the digital meter, so you give me 5 days, 5 days no electricity. So this cannot be happening, right? So therefore, that's why engineer is still very much needed and important, okay? So this is big electricity. And how about small electricity? Small electricity is about the chipset, okay? Chipset, you are holding it every day. Do you know that? It's in your smartphone, okay? So the chipset is actually the brain to all the computers, laptops, any machine. So therefore, even though like maybe microwave, maybe in your car, so therefore you see 10 years ago, when there is a shortage of chipset, actually it does not concern about the car manufacturing, right? But right now, this is a problem. You see the problem because we don't have the chipset, so therefore the car manufacturing has to stop. So you see now the involvement and also it's becoming wider and wider. Okay. So electronics, of course, we are designing a better chipset. For example, like Apple, they are moving from Intel chipset to their own manufacturing and one chipset. Okay. So therefore, of course, they want to have a better efficiency, reduce losses. So that is your job, electronic engineer. You need to design something like that. Okay. Of course, not your 1% job, like it's like a group work. Okay. So therefore, E&E, this is it. And also telecommunication, okay? Telecommunication is also, how to say, you see, previously we have 4G, right? So right now we have 5G, okay? So actually, if you want to know what is 4G, what is the G about, I think you can YouTube yourself lah. I think right now, because it's going to take a lot of time, okay? So now, 4G to 5G, okay, who is going to design that? Of course, telecommunication engineers, okay? So what is so special about this? For example, like when I'm moving from 4G to 5G, can we still use back the same modem? We cannot use back the same modem anymore, right? Even though like the chipset, the sensors and all that, the bandwidth has to be readjusted. So everything has to be redesigned. So involving the designing, so therefore we need telecommunication engineers in order to take care of this, okay? So basically, these are all the electrical engineers that we offer in APU. And also let me show you another engineers in APU that you can find, which is petroleum engineers, okay, petroleum engineering. So petroleum engineering, there is a controversy saying that because right now you see Tesla is coming out, right? A lot of renewable energy, and there we are slowly phasing out fossil fuel, and also we are slowly phasing out the oil and gas and that. So therefore, how true do you think it is? So let me give you a scenario. So actually, in conclusion, we are still going to depend on oil and gas for at least the next 50 years. So even though like maybe some country are making some bold decision, which is in UK, London, they are going to phase out the petrol car by 2030. So after 2030, London only can use electric car. Okay, so maybe you're seeing, yeah, this is a risk, right? I study now, then I cannot go to London to work anymore. It's not like that, okay? It's not only car that need the oil and gas, right? A lot of things need oil and gas, okay? And even though that is just a portion, car is being replaced by electricity, but there are another portion of life is still maintaining the same way, okay? So therefore, and also people are saying that actually the reserve of the oil and gas is depleting. We cannot find oil anymore. And actually this is not that true as well. There are still a lot of like undiscovered oil field, okay? So therefore this technology, this engineering is also still very much needed. I can say is for the next 50 years, okay? And also, just now I mentioned about AI and IR 4.0, right? So therefore, I use a lot of example of electrical engineers. So in petroleum engineer, do you think it is important? It is also very important, okay? So for example, like, the oil reserve, let's say a simplest example, the oil reserve under the ground, how are you going to find out? Of course, you have technology, you have detection, you have a lot of, the high frequency kind of sensor, radar sensor and all that. But because Earth is changing. So for example, the older oil field is depleting, maybe there's a new oil field is being discovered. Okay, so therefore, we can make use of artificial intelligence right now, okay? So which is like you can study the trend, we can study all the information that you have received in order to make a forecast, in order to make a lot of judgment based on all this big data analysis, okay? So therefore, petroleum engineer, so I wanted to say that the IR 4.0 in AI is not only for the electrical engineers to work on, okay? So in everything, in every way, even though just now I talked about the mixed rice, right, the economical rice, okay? So therefore, you can't, how to say, hiding yourself saying, yeah, I don't want to use this, I'm fine, I'm okay. But trust me, one day you will be using this one, and also this is everywhere, okay? So these are actually all the 5 engineering that we offer in APU. So if you need any further information, you can contact us again. And also, actually, this is the last slide, I believe. Okay, this is the last slide I want to share with you. So top 10 skill of 2025. So right now, because you guys are SPM students, right? Maybe whatever I say to you now, you still feel that it is still very far away. I still need to pass my SPM, right? I still need to undergo the foundation year diploma, and then only I can go to degree. That is actually not far away, okay? What I wanted to instill, what I wanted to cultivate in you is the kind of attitude, okay? The attitude. Attitude is regardless of your age. You can develop a very good attitude since a very young age. And actually, all of the 10 skills here, what you see right now, all are related to the attitude. Actually, there is no technical terms, right? There is no electricity, there's no electrical, there's no engineering. You see the top 10 skill, which is like the analytical thinking, the active learning, the complex problem solving. If you look at the type of skill in the bottom left, there is problem solving, self-management, working with people, technology use and development, okay? So therefore, this is actually people generalizing based on the Industrial Revolution 4.0. And they are, they are coming out with this conclusion based on the IR 4.0. So meaning that if you search like 30 years ago, what is the top 10 skill 30 years ago? Maybe there's something else, okay? But at least for now, these are the things that you should care, okay? So therefore, not only in your engineering study, I believe in everyday life, everything you do, all of this attitude and also all of this mindset is very important, okay? So therefore, just that if you are asking me what is the #1 message from my talk today that I want you to take home, which is always be prepared. Always prepare yourself. Okay, adapt to the change because life is changing every day. So therefore, yeah, I believe this is somehow, yeah, this is related. Okay. So I believe this is somehow everything that I wanted to introduce to you. Okay. So therefore, I can answer any question if you have. And also,
Uh,
I think the stats with facts, yes.
yeah, doctor, because just now you mentioned, students,
Mm,
like you say students, it's not when they think about their work, it's they usually think about, oh, it's gonna be 5 years down the line
mm,
or 6 years down the line when I
mm,
finish
mm,
my study, then only I
mm,
go to work, right? So I
mm,
think
mm,
should the student be afraid that
mm,
the job that they want now in 2021
mm,
might be
mm.
obsolete or might be phased out in the maybe 5 years to come? Is it a real risk?
I don't think so, okay, because if you see right now, right, so therefore, because actually right now we are very much integrated with all the Industrial 4.0, which is things happening right now, okay.
Mm,
So what you see in 5 years later is based on what we have right now, okay. So therefore, meaning that we are prepared according to this one, we are not going to, for example, in APU, right, we are not going to teach you something like 10 years ago, yeah, the 10 years ago technology, we are not going to do that anymore, okay. So therefore, you don't have to worry, okay. So two things. The first thing is about my justification is about the 5 years later, the work is actually based on what is happening now. Okay, so if you are keeping this direction, so therefore you don't have to worry that your job is going to be obsolete and all that.
mm. What
Because yeah,
about
this is the first thing. And
what
also
about
the second
traditional
thing,
career?
sorry, traditional career.
Yeah, like how we always hear that, hey, finance work are being replaced by AI because they can count faster, they can process
Mm,
through number faster.
mm,
Should
mm,
I
mm,
should I as a maybe a finance student that is maybe
mm,
thinking about studying finance, be
mm,
worried
mm.
about news like this?
Okay, so you don't have to worry again. That is the number two things I want to say, because actually all the syllabus, for example, things that you are learning, actually is based on the how to say, even syllabus is also evolving. So
Mm,
that's why if you look at 10 years ago, we are starting very much different things, okay? So therefore, that is also a government, if you know MQA, MQA is regulating all of this. So therefore, they are proofreading all the syllabus and all that to make sure that what you study is relevant. And
mm,
also, now I really, how to say, just now talking about attitude, right? So
mm,
attitude is something that I encourage you guys to challenge yourself, okay, to aim high, okay. For example, just now you mentioned about in the banking, so maybe the machine can count faster than human, right? But I believe you don't study a degree in order to count the money only, right? So therefore,
yeah,
you
that's
study a degree because, yeah, you want to become a business analyst. You want to take out a bigger role. You want to have more impact in your career. So therefore, that is the reason that all of this that I am introducing to you is still very much relevant, and the coherency can be sustained even up to like maybe next 20 or 30 years. Yeah,
true.
this is my answer to that.
Would you think that studying in engineering would be a very future-proof career?
Yes, definitely. Yes. Just now I mentioned about the four main engineering, which is electrical, chemical, civil, and also mechanical. Okay.
Mm,
So I mentioned this engineering, I also relate to the basic human necessities. Basic human necessities. As long as you are alive, as long as you still want to live, you cannot, like, I don't want to use any engineering product. You can tell me what product is not being engineered. Okay. So everything is engineering. Your real life is engineering. The road is engineering. The aircraft is engineering. Even your sofa is the engineering. Maybe your stand fan is engineering. Everything is engineering. So therefore, talking about the relevancy and also the career proof, and just now I mentioned that the electrical engineers started to be found in 1920s, right? So
mm,
therefore, I don't think it already suffered 100 years. I don't think it has any problem to sustain for the next 100 years.
mm.
Yeah.
Then what are the type of student that is more suitable for engineering? Because that's how you mentioned you need a lot of
Mm,
skills, you need a lot of problem solving skills in order to
mm,
be great
mm,
at this career. What are the
mm,
types of
mm,
students? Uh, let's say if I'm a type of student that I like to optimize certain thing, or I like to make things out of nothing.
mm.
What are the example of student that may be suitable for engineering courses that is offered in APU?
Okay, so not only in APU, if you talk about engineering, right, I would use the keyword logic. As long as you are a logical person, for example, like solving mathematics is a logic, right? For example, 2 plus 2 is 4. So 2 plus 2 is 4 is a logic. So therefore you agree in a logic. If you can't understand why 2 plus 2 is 4, if you can't accept why 2 plus 2 is 4, so maybe you have, how to say, you need to adapt to that, okay? So therefore, if I want to use a word to describe, I would say logic. As long as you're analytical, if you're logical, you are eligible to become an engineer. Yes.
All right. What about students that are deciding between, they want to study IT, but then they also realize that, hey, just now doctor also mentioned about people that, you know, engineering also do a bit of software.
Yes.
How do I decide if I'm a student in between the line?
Okay, so therefore, computer engineering is something in between. So therefore, there are two ends. One end is electrical engineers and another end is the IT, computer science. There are two extreme ends. So therefore, actually, I can't tell you which one is better and which one is less. There is no definite answer for this. But right now, because of the IR 4.0, right, we find that there must be something in between electrical engineer and also the IT student. So therefore, there is a computer engineering, okay? And also, actually, I understand that the student might, when they seek advice from the elderly, right? So they will say that, yeah, you just choose whatever you like, okay? And this is actually still very true for me, okay? Because I also been through to some education fair like that, and people are comparing, engineer, how much can they earn? And programmer, what is the salary? So people compare things like that. But I wanted to tell you that actually there is no best choices. I mean, in life, not only in choosing engineering or not, there is no best choices. There is always a better choice, okay? So therefore, what I would suggest to all of you is you choose something that you can accept and make it the best, okay? So that would be the best choices to yourself, right? So therefore, you can, for example, every profession can be successful. For example, IT programmer, you can be a very successful programmer, right? You can also be a very successful engineer, right? There's no right and there's no wrong. Yeah.
Just now you mentioned like a lot of elderly will advise you, you know, they give a lot of different advice. It used to be said that, you know, study engineer, you need to be smart, you need to learn how to calculate, you need to be good at maths. Is it true these days?
Okay, so about mathematics, I would say that I still hold on to my previous answer, which is the logic. Okay, so you have to understand that you are no longer doing the calculation everything by yourself anymore. Okay, because right now there are a lot of software, for example like MATLAB, for example like SPSS, for example like a lot of software, they will be helping you doing the calculation, but you need to do the design. You need to design the framework in order to let the simulator to simulate the result, and also you analyze the results, okay? So meaning that you are a designer. So what is being needed is the logic, because you want to make sure you can achieve the objective, right? So therefore, I still holding on to the previous answer, which is like the logic and also the calculation, everything like that is not the super important anymore, because we don't manually calculate that anymore. Yeah, this is my answer.
What about the courses itself? Is it difficult, and do I need to have like 5C or 5A in order to get into engineering foundation?
For the foundation, I think Miet can help to answer this one, because I don't have the latest information. I think Miet can help. Yeah.
Okay, hi. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Miet from APU. Yeah, so basically, if let's say if you're interested in engineering program, we are required, minimum requirement will be 5 credits, including your maths and science subjects, which is either physics or chemistry, all right, and past PM Sejarah. So basically, we are highly required science subjects.
Miet, while we all have you, can we talk about the scholarship involved?
Yeah, sure. If let's say for APU scholarships, we're looking at, I believe that most of you are SPM background, right? So, or going to SPM exam. So basically SPM, we require minimum 4 A's and above. So including A plus, A minus, and A. All right, so 4 to 5 A's is 10%, 6 A's 20, 7 A's 30, 8 A's 40, and 9 A's 50%. So the scholarships depends on how many A's. So keep it up.
Okay. All right. I hope that answers your question, Suhada. So if But at the end of the day, if you have any other questions that we haven't addressed here today, I'm gonna teach you a way to get in touch with representative from APU themselves. But as for closing, Doctor, do you have anything for the potential engineer students or potential computer science students involved here?
Okay, so me personally, I myself is E&E engineer. Okay, so therefore, I would like to say that engineer is a challenging subject. Okay, so depend on your personality, not only about engineering. So therefore, I actually encourage you can actually take on the challenge. Okay, so engineering definitely not as easy. I mean, how to say, it's not a very easy task. So therefore, but I want to say that once you graduated and once you overcome all the hassles that during the study, right, you are going to get a very fruitful rewards. Okay. So for example, like if you see my name, I mean my title, I'm not too sure if it's being displayed. So therefore you can, engineering is a very well protected and also across the world. Okay. So for example, you can get the certification in order if you want to work in maybe Australia or maybe in UK. So therefore engineer is actually a very well respected profession. And also, even though it's not easy, but I still encourage you guys to take on the challenge. And also, don't worry, don't compare about maybe I should have taken that one better. So don't think something like that. If you already taken this one, just try to make it the best. Okay.